This is a video tutorial on how to vectorize images in 2D design for the purpose of using on a laser cutter and laser cutting and engraving. So the first thing we need to look at is a set of rules that are really important to using our laser cutter. And that is the three colors we use. Red lines are set to cut. They're set to cut right through the material. Black lines are set to engrave. That means they're going to use a lower power and a faster speed so that they don't cut all the way through. They just burn a line part way through. And green filled areas will burn a surface area. So not as powerful as an engraving cut, but it will do a whole surface area. So it's great for shading in an area. These three colors are really important for what we're going to be doing. We need to make sure we're using the right colors, the right settings. So let's have a look at some images. I'm going to put this off to one side. I've got here a selection of images. I've got some cats. Now these are images I've taken from the internet. I've just borrowed them straight from Google Images, but they show three separate types of images. Now the first two, one on the left and the one on the middle, are quite basic, and the one on the right is a lot more complex. You can see there's a lot more detail in this one on the right, and if I zoom in to that one, zoom in a bit here, you can see that there's a lot more detail in the cat's fur, thinness of the whiskers, and lots of different colours and tones. So you can tell that the artist there put a lot of effort in, whereas these two are a lot more simplistic. No less important or good, but they're done in a very different style, and they're using much more simplistic colorings. And these two are going to be better for what we want, but they're not going to be perfect. So let's have a quick look at this. So I'm going to just scroll my page down a little bit, and I'm going to duplicate each of these images. Now when we're doing this, it's always good to have a duplicate image, another one to work from, so that if we go wrong, we've got a starting point to go back to. This is a good habit to get into. Don't do all your work on the same image in case you have to start again because you make a mistake. Remember, there's a big limitation with 2D design, and that is you can undo one step. That's it. Control Z or undo only goes back one step. So that is a big limitation here. So there's two things we could try. We can try contouring or we can try vectorizing. Contouring will draw a line around, and vectorizing will convert the image. If we try contouring first, now the contour option here, press and hold, and at the end when you've got contour around a bitmap image, bitmap is a picture, and you've got your contour spacing, we want a 0 spacing, and you choose control path or graphical path. The graphical path is a bit closer to what we want here. I've got so 0 spacing, so it should be right on the line, graphical path, and I'm going to click on this one first. I process it. That's actually done that now. You can't see anything, but it has done it. Come back and have a look in a second. I'm going to do this one as well. And you can just about see some of that. I'm going to do this one as well. I'm going to press escape to cancel my tool. This one you can very see clearly. My select tool activated, sorry. So I can take that and move that to one side. And that is definitely of no use to us. What that's done is it's contoured around the really obvious difference in colours. So where there's a clear difference in colour, that's what it's created contour around. And you can see it's used the light path here and the bits of the cheeks with the light shining on it. That's of no use to it. Let's try the one on the left. So I'll move the picture out of the way. And oh look, we've got the outside box and the whites of the eyes. So those are the only clear differences in colour that the contour tool has found. That is of no use to it. What have we got here on this one? Well, on this one, we move it across. We've got the outline of our cat. Now that could be quite helpful, but because of the shading down here for the shadow, we've also got that there. It looks like the cat is sitting on something or sitting in a hole. Not really of much use. Let's try vectorizing. Now the vectorizing tool is here. You can also access both of these tools by pressing bitmap. You've got the contour bitmap or the vectorize bitmap. Let's go with vectorize. We'll go with this one here first. And it's important that this one's got a black or a dark background. doesn't provide much of a contrast between the outside brown border of the cat and then the colours. So you'll probably start off on with these settings here at around about that, something like that. So that looks quite good, except we can't really use that because it's still lots of different colours. It will, however, give us lots of lines, and we can work with the lines. So we could press OK on that. It's going to take a moment to process all that. I'm going to press my select tool, and with that, if I was to then go to fill and no fill, I've got a lot of lines there. I can also select that and press the line color all as black, and I've got a lot of different lines here. If I zoom in on this, I could maybe break some of these lines apart, use the bits I want to use, but there is a lot of stuff there to work with, and that could get very, very confusing. I'd also be afraid that if I was to engrave all those lines, this cat might look more like a panda. Well, a red panda. So that's a problem. If alternatively I do what we'd normally do, and again you can see here why I created a copy of my original images, so I can go back and create another copy and keep using them. I'll go back to bitmap, vectorize, and click on this. We've got monochrome selected here. Now I've got inverted selected because it's trying to create the black background, and I can adjust my luminance. The luminance here adjusts how much light and what the contrast boundaries it's using is. See that that's probably the best we're going to get. It's not really the cat we was after. But let's try this one here. This one here has got a bit better contrast, got a white background. We do have this shadow down here, and we've got shadow around the cat as well. So let's see what we can keep with that. Click vectorize, and we go to monochrome. We don't need to invert this one, and we can play around with the luminance. So the default will come through is 120, and it doesn't look bad, but we're losing some of the detail. If I move this to the side, you can see that we haven't got, say, the markings on the head or the markings on the legs, tail. So if I up this, probably to around about 129. Yeah, that looks good. You can see I've got a lot more detail there. This is not a perfect representation of what's going to come out over here. It's just a preview. So I'm going to press OK on that. OK again. And there it goes. And this is not bad. That's pretty good. That's pretty good for what we want to do. So we could use that. That's workable. Let's try it with our really detailed complex image up here. So if I try and vectorize that one, and you can see the computer's taking a bit more time here. There's a lot of colours, there's a lot of tones it has to work through, so it's trying to calculate all of that. Let's go to monochrome, and as you can see, it's really struggling with all that shading, really struggling. You can try it at 150, but I don't think it's going to look very good. And you can see there, you just get a really washed out version of what that cat was. So of the three, this is our best option. Not perfect, but it's our best option. Let's try a different image, and I've got a very sleepy, grumpy cat here. So let's duplicate my image first, and we'll put it off to the side. Now this one is a really clear tone. I've still got a bit of shadow on there, and we're going to look at how we can fix that afterwards. So let's do bitmap, vectorize bitmap, and select it. I'll go to monochrome. And at 120, which is the default value, that looks pretty good. We've got these little white patches here, which is a result of this shadow, or the lack of shadow on the top of it here and the shadow on the side. But we can work with that. I'm going to press OK and OK. And there we go. Now, if we're engraving, we engrave an outline. If I send either of this or this image to the laser cutter, it will just engrave the outline because it sees black lines as lines to be engraved. And it doesn't know what to do with any areas that are filled in black because I haven't told it what to do. I've done this because we want 3 separate functions. So any areas we want etched, we can make green fill. So with that, I'd make the color of the fill. So to find that, you can either press the fill button and then change the color here to this nice fluorescent green. Apply it OK. And do the same with the line, because right now we've got a black outline and a green fill. When we convert this to a DXF format, it's going to take the color of the outline. So we'll use the line color and green, and there we go. And that looks pretty good, and that's etched. That'll look really, really good. With this one, we've got 2 options. We can do exactly the same thing, or we can get rid of these patches. To do that, I'm going to create a copy again. Always work from a copy, that way you can go back to a safe point. And I'm going to zoom in on that one there, that touch. So I'm going to actually take all the fill away. So fill, no fill, OK. And that looks a little bit more confusing, doesn't it? Doesn't look as good. It's got lovely outlines, but it doesn't look as good. And it's these little patches here I want to get rid of. Right now, they're all part of one set of lines. It's like a group, but it's not actually grouped together. They're merged. It's made a solid path. So we need to go to this button up here called explode. And what that's going to do is, it's like an ungroup function. It's going to separate all the separate parts of it. So I press that, one level only, I press continue. And now each of these sections is separate, meaning that we can delete each of those sections. So I'm going to take each of these and get rid of them. I don't want them. There we go. And that's given us our nice body shape. But I want to get that fill back in there so we can etch that fill. Well, to do that, we need to use another tool. If I just selected all of that and pressed fill, let's see what happens. I could be wrong. Sometimes this works. We seem to have a rather sleepy cat. It looks a little bit like sunglasses. So we don't want to do that. This is where this next step comes in. And that's called the boundary fill tool, which is this tool up here. Now, by default, it comes with an invisible black line and a solid red fill. We're going to change both of these to the luminous green color. So we get a green line with a green fill. I'm going to press OK. Now this tool can be complicated, especially with a really complex design. This design should be simple enough. I'm going to select that boundary, that line. It only works with a solid boundary. So the line has to go all the way around and join back up again at the very start. They asked me a question, are there any islands? Island is a shape in the middle of that I don't want to fill in. So if I just press no, it's filled in that ear there. And I didn't want that to happen, so I'll undo that. We'll try it again. Press that boundary, are there any islands? So I'll say yes, that ear is an island. Are any more islands? No, that's just it. And now it didn't go around that ear, so it filled in the colour up to that line and then stopped and formed a boundary around that line. I can do the rest of these parts, so I can start back here. Any islands in this part here? No. And it's even included that bit there, because where they overlapped, it just went all the way around them. I've got a tiny little bit here I can do. There's no islands in that. I can do these bits, no islands there or there. Do this bit, because there's no islands there, there, or there. And then I can already see that they've got an island here and an island here for the eyes. So I'll do the outside of that one. Is there any islands? Yes. Select that island. Any more islands? And with this part of the nose. Any islands? Yes, there's an island here for the eye. Any more? No. Done. Now, there's 2 ways we can move on from this. We can either move all the green off to the side, or we can move the black away. If you can somehow find a way of selecting the black outline, then you're lucky. If not, you're going to have to select all the green. There's always the risk that you try and move it all and it doesn't line up. So move it all together. If I highlight it all, I've also highlighted the black background, which I didn't want. So I'm going to left click on my first part and then right click on the next part and keep right clicking to add to my selection. This is a great feature to the design. Right click, just add to your selection. You haven't got to hold down any shift or any other buttons, just right click. And if I've selected the wrong part, I can right click on it and deselect it. With all the bits selected, and check carefully it's all there, I can click, move off to the side, and I can click, and there it has it. My original is still there, and I've got this here for my design. Now this works on not just cats but any type of image, but we have to make sure that we are using the right type of image. So when you're searching for your images to use, make sure you're using one that's going to work for you. Overly complex images, overly detailed, are going to really come out washed out. If you can get one that's looks nice but doesn't have too much detail, you can use it straight from that. However, if you want to modify it, this is a great way of modifying. So a reminder, we're looking here at the bitmap tools. You've got contour and vectorize. Vectorize is a lot more useful in this scenario. And you've got the boundary fill tool here. Take your time with this, save your work regularly, and always work from a duplicate. You can see here that I've started off with one image, I've duplicated it once, duplicated it again, and then I've got the final part I'm working with. And this place wherever. And if you're worried about moving parts of this without moving the rest of it, you can always highlight all of it, and up the top here you've got the group option. By grouping them together, they become one group, and I can move that around without worrying about things getting separated. Okay, enjoy. Good luck.